You probably already know that you achieve the flow state when you are working on a definite goal, which meets your skill set, where you have immediate feedback for each action you take, and where you feel like you have a sense of control over what you're trying to do. And those are some of the good things about the flow state. Those are some of the things that make you see the whole concept of the flow state in a positive light. Those are some things that are constantly marketed on social media, in books, in seminars. But then there are some things about the state that you probably don't know, and these could be the downsides of the state, things that we do in the pursuit of this state that also need to be talked about, because I think having that awareness is also important. I think knowing what are the negative impacts of this state is also one way to optimally use it, because it also makes it more interesting, more dynamic. Alright, so the very first thing that we often assume about the flow state is that it comes from positive or good tasks. We assume that it always improves the quality of your life, which isn't entirely true, because in the book Flow, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi talks about a bunch of juvenile delinquents who experience this state by engaging in criminal activities. They vandalize properties, they shoplift, and engage in other, petty crimes because they love doing that. They are driving enjoyment in these activities. They aren't concerned about the nature of the outcome because they are experiencing the same elusive state that people who do morally good things experience. Because for them also, there is immediate feedback, there is a challenge skill balance, there is a sense of control, loss of self-consciousness, transformation of time, all of that. But the outcomes aren't positive. So the point he's trying to make is that the flow state in itself isn't a positive thing, but it's rather a psychologically universal and a task agnostic state. So basically it doesn't tell you whether you're doing something good or bad. It just lets you perform the task better. But then performing the task in a better way, even if they are non-harmful, can be problematic too. And that leads me to the second point that we often don't think about, which is the fact that the flow state can be really addictive, because once you understand that certain activities can bring you a lot of enjoyment, you may end up seeking them all the time. You may end up constantly looking for activities that trigger these states. And a lot of times that can lead to a detachment from people around you. It can impact your social well-being. And the other times, not being able to achieve it can bring your mood down. It can cause frustration and resentment for the situation and the people around you. So in some ways, it's like a double-edged sword. On one side, it can really bring you a lot of enjoyment and give you a sense of accomplishment. But on the other side, it can also alienate you from people around you. It can create avoidance for other things that are important, but where you don't really find that flow. It can make you see other people and the overall situation in the negative light. So kids and video games are a perfect example for it, because kids love playing video games and it can, become addictive. It can bring them a lot of joy and a sense of accomplishment. But in that process, they probably may ignore their friends and their family. They may ignore their projects and homeworks, even their basic daily tasks. And if anything stops them from playing video games, then that makes them irritable. It makes them frustrated or angry. It basically brings out all the negative emotions in them. But the same can happen with adults who can get so engulfed by, a task, and it could be a meaningful, positive task, that they forget about their other priorities. The point is, and I guess we already know this, that too much of anything, positive or negative, beyond a point isn't good. It can't be good. There has to be a balance and a definite intention behind why we do certain things. Which brings me to the third point, which is that the flow state can often serve as a form of escapism. It can make you retreat from achieving the activities that are important for you, because you would rather do things where you have a sense of control. You would do things where you think you will have a favorable outcome. And because of this attitude, you may avoid things that are necessary but uncertain, things that don't meet your skill level but are essential for your personal growth. And this happens because escapism brings relief from all sorts of stress and unhappiness. It gives a sense of accomplishment and enjoyment while keeping other important things at distance. But all of that happens in the short term, and in the long term, it may cause mental health problems, because you may create more conflicts on top of existing conflicts, more to-do tasks on top of existing tasks, more insecurities on top of existing ones. But I think the most important thing that might happen is that this form of escapism can lead to a misalignment with your own personal values, because you may spend a lot of time and energy in doing things that are comfortable, but the ones that aren't align with your core values. So for instance, if being fit and healthy is one of your core values, but you find flow in gardening, you may end up spending hours pruning leaves and watering plants and feel like you have accomplished a lot, but in the process you're probably ignoring your workouts 5 days in a week, which then means that gardening and the flow associated with it is a form of escapism for you. It might bring you a lot of enjoyment and feel like the right thing to do, but it is also creating a lot of gap between what you value doing and what you do instead. Which brings me to the last point, that even though finding flow brings a lot of enjoyment and we associate it with the idea of happiness, we often forget that we can sometimes be overly reliant on it. We may end up seeking activities that are highly engaging, which then may just narrow the sources of our happiness. We may forget that there is flow even in the mundane, that there is flow in solitude and simplicity. We also may forget that we don't have to be outdoors, climbing mountains or working 9 hours on a dream project to find enjoyment and flow. That we can simply find flow in, talking to a friend, while doing the dishes, while taking a walk, by doing, mindful eating and chewing. Because without a balanced approach, the whole fascination with flow and productivity and personal growth can be a bit toxic. It can make you look away from simple things that bring gratitude, things that are essential for your well-being, things that make up probably 70% of your life. And it can also make things unnecessarily more complex. It can raise expectations and make you more sensitive to dullness. You may constantly look for a heightened engagement state. So that's why it's really important to not be overly reliant on the flow, because it's anyway not something that should be forced. But just being mindful of your own behaviors can help you mitigate the potential downsides of the flow state. But with all said, achieving flow state is still directly proportional to the quality of your life. And there are 8 aspects to this state, and I cover all of them in this video over here. So check it out, and I will see you next time.